All right, let's make some sense. Let's make some sense of where the Texans are. We do this every Monday after Monday Night Football. What a game that was, by the way. We localize and we take a look at where the Texans sit right now. It's not pretty. And we heard from DeMeco Ryans. I asked DeMeco Ryans some questions. He clarified some things. Don't know if clarification always necessarily means that you feel any better about it, but we at least asked the questions. He at least clarified. And I dove a little bit deeper into it, and I think we need to focus on the why instead of the what, which is what we'll do here in the locker room. This is brought to you by Sleeper. Sleeper, the best sports app in the game. Higher lower is my favorite game, and I just lost my higher lower. Barely. Should have had Mark Andrews on there. Lost my fantasy matchup because I didn't play him, but the higher lower game. The score app, a lot of people have hit me up and said, yes, you were right. This is the best score app. 100%. The survivor pools, the whole community of Sleeper is great, but the higher lower game is my favorite. We'll have picks throughout the week. We already have a viewer, Gage, who says that he won his Sleeper tonight. So let's go. Congratulations to him. If you do want to get in the game, and it's a really fun game of skill, you can download the Sleeper app. You can use the promo code LOCKER, LOCKER, and you'll get a $100 deposit match up to $100. So shout out to Sleeper, the greatness that is, and shout out to everyone who's tagged along and taken advantage of that promo. So the word of the day with DeMeco Ryans was close. Before we hear from DeMeco Ryans, let's just kind of take a look at where the rest of the league sits in comparison to the Texans. And we're going to focus on the AFC. We're not going to focus on the league as a whole. We'll focus on the AFC. And right now you have 3 undefeated teams, 3 2-win teams, 6 1-2 squads, and you are one of 4 winless squads in the NFL. So the undefeated squads, Buffalo, no surprise there. Chargers, you expected them to be good. And then the Colts in the division, they just punted for the first time. The Texans have 4 red zone trips in 3 games. The Colts just punted for the first time. So that's crazy all in itself. So those are the 3 undefeated teams. Indianapolis, you're keeping an eye on. You still got 2 games with them. You think they're probably going to be in the 9-10 win range at this point. Although if they keep playing like this, then who knows? And then the Chargers and Bills, kind of uphill battles. You got to think those are opportunities to be division winners. You're not going to have home field, so that notion that they needed to get home field, that ship has sailed. At this point, you're basically begging for a wild card berth this early in the game. You have 3 2-1 teams. Cincinnati, the arrow is pointing down. You saw what happened to them against Carson Wentz and the Minnesota Vikings. So that arrow is pointing down without Joe Burrow. Pittsburgh, they're up and down. You really don't know what you're going to expect with Pittsburgh. Could go a number of ways. And then you have the Jags, who you just lost to. Better football team than the Texans right now. Then you have the 6 1-2s, New England, Baltimore, who just lost to the Lions, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Denver, Kansas City. I would say Denver and Kansas City probably disappointed with their starts, but they do have a 1-game lead on you. Probably be competing with one of, if not both of those teams for the wild card. And then the 4 winless teams, the Jets, the Dolphins, Tennessee, and Houston. And obviously the old Oilers will be in town on Sunday to take on the Texans. So that will get trimmed. So that's kind of where you sit right now. If you're the Texans, you're a winless ball club. You're not very good. Your defense is good. Your offense might suck more than last year. And that's just kind of where the Texans are at right now and kind of how things are sitting for DeMeco and company. And it's not a great situation to be in, but perhaps it's just kind of a dose of reality, because close works both ways. And, you know, games being close, it's kind of a league-wide thing. For most NFL games are close, and close can work both ways. Maybe there's a lot of times where they won some games that they probably had no business winning, and it was kind of the lipstick on the pig that was the entire operation of offensive football with DeMeco Ryans, where his defense was able to overcome it. They haven't been able to do that. And now maybe we're getting a dose of reality for DeMeco Ryans. I said this earlier on the Texans Collective. I don't know if y'all check that out. You probably should subscribe in the description. Myself, Cody Stoots, SNL, with Sean Pendergast and Reginald Atatula. I think that if you look back at what has happened the last 2 years, I think the Texans might have actually benefited had the Colts not dropped that pass in the winner go home game in week 18 of the 2023 season. I think it would have been a nice slice of humble pie. I think it would have given a clearer visual that the Colts were closer to you than you were the other teams. I think perhaps the CJ Stroud tour, which is getting completely roasted now nationally, doesn't happen. And I think it just gives a little bit more reality in the big scheme of things. And let's be honest, winning a division title and then winning a playoff game, you didn't really accomplish anything new. That was the Bill O'Brien special. So maybe in hindsight, it would have been better had that pass not fallen to the ground. And then maybe there's a little bit more urgency than there is right now. Or it could be something a little bit deeper, which we'll get to. By the way, speaking of the Titans versus the Texans, we want you to get ready for that with us. Myself and Cody Stoots, SNL, will be out there at Spanky's, Sharpstown, Bel Air, this Friday, 3 o'clock to 6. Hopefully we have some special guests pulling through. This community is not dependent on wins, losses. We're all in this together, truly. We cover the squad. We keep it real, not fake real, like real. We're there all the time. We break it down. It's not just fake knowledge. So we got you covered, and we'll cover the squad, and we hope you'll be out there with us at Spanky's. I hear this a lot, and I get it because I feel the same way. But whenever the squad is losing or you're covering a squad that plays just bad ball, which is what the Texans do on the offensive side of the rock, you find yourself watching Monday Night Football. I wouldn't say depressed, because I don't think there's such thing as watching football as a casual observer with a depressed mindset. And now when I say casual observer, that means it's either not your squad, or you didn't bet on it, or you don't have a higher lower type of thing. But as someone just chilling watching football, I don't think you can be too depressed. But when you do see teams like Baltimore, who's got 1 win, and Detroit, who's got 2 wins, you do kind of get a sense of just how far away the Texans are from playing at that level. And realistically, if the Texans were to play at that level, the offense would have to get to average, which maybe you think Nick Caley can do, and the defense would have to get to elite. Nick. That's really the recipe for the Texans to get to that level. But that's a long ways away at the moment. And quite frankly, I think the mindset almost needs to be a little bit questioned when it comes to what DeMeco does, what DeMeco is doing, and some of the things that DeMeco does say, which we'll get to in a sec. I dug something up, and I'm really intrigued to hear what people think about that. But first, let's hear from one of the leaders of the team, Azeez Al-Shaair, and what he had to say about the frustration. I think this was one of the money quotes of the week, but just the frustration of one of the leaders of the defense like him, the frustration of doing your job and then knowing that the offense needs to pick it up, but perhaps feeling helpless. Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth. I'll let him speak for himself. But first, I'm going to tell you why, despite the Texans' bad performance, I'll be sleeping just fine tonight. Sleep is one of the most important things in life. Unfortunately, we don't always get it. That used to be the case for me. Whether you're streaming, whatever you're doing, you need sleep. And ever since I got the Manta sleep mask, the sound mask, I sleep better. My wife sleeps better. We're a much happier household. Just the mask alone, with the comfort, the adjustable, you can adjust the eyes, the light Velcro. That's a game changer and improves your sleep. But then they got the built-in Bluetooth speakers right here for your white noise when you're on a plane. I can actually sleep on a plane. I couldn't sleep on a plane my entire life. I can now because of this. My wife loves it as well. She sleeps very well, whether it's a nap, whether it's at night on a plane, whatever. And a lot of times you wake each other up. This thing right here, it snores a lot. Used to keep me up. Not anymore. Everybody's happier because of the Manta sleep mask. I recommend the sound mask. Do what I did. Go to mantasleep.com. Use my promo code LOCKER. Get 10% off your order. Mantasleep.com. It's a life changer for the better. All right, there you go. So, and by the way, that thing is sleeping right there. It's not even snoring anymore because it sleeps so much better. Let's hear from Azeez Al-Shaair, and let's hear what he has to say about maybe trying to lead the offense despite being a defensive guy. This is interesting. It's not nearly as interesting as the dissection we're going to do of DeMeco Ryans, but let's hear what Azeez has to say.
Obviously, like on defense, you can gather the guys around and they can feed off of you. Is there anything you can do like to help the offense, given the fact that you play on the other side of the ball? Is it getting the message across and then following the defense's lead? Is there anything you can do?
I think kind of like I said earlier, where it comes to like, I don't go to the dentist and tell the dentist how to fix my teeth. You know, he kind of is an expert at what he does, and I'm an expert at what I do. So I think the conversations happen for sure, and you try to get just an understanding from like what's going on and maybe how they're feeling or whatever. But I think just it starts as a whole team, like the mentality, and then it leads over from the leadership of those, you know, different sides of the ball to kind of implement that throughout the week and throughout the game. You know, I feel like when you watch defense player, offense player, whoever, it's like everybody knows your top guys. Those are the guys that you count on to kind of set the tempo, set the pace for everything, and then everybody else is going to follow, and that's just how it's got to be. So I mean, that's just kind of how I see it for myself. Is like if I go out there and I'm half stepping, then the guys behind me are gonna be looking at me sideways. So I think it's like kind of like my own standard that I set for myself. You know,
So kind of lead by example.
100%. Yeah.
All right, and that's, I mean, that's a good answer. And that's a stand-up guy. I mean, he's not dodging the media whenever things go bad. That's a stand-up guy. That's one of the leaders, and he's had a hell of a season. Honestly, Azeez Al-Shaair's had a is it a Pro Bowl caliber season? I don't know. I mean, he had a massive play against the Rams. It's a really good defense. He's kind of the leader of it. I don't know if it's Pro Bowl caliber. Maybe it's too early to talk that. But that's a stand-up guy. That's the type of leadership that I think most people would like. But it does have to be. It is awkward. Now he is, you know, the dentist analogy that he throws out there is like kind of insinuating that these guys know what they're doing on offense. The problem is they don't. And it's obvious that they don't. And I'm not sitting there saying Azeez needs to like tell him what to do or anything like that. I don't think there's really anything he can do, but it's still got to be frustrating. You have a C on your chest. You're one of the leaders. I forgot what they called him, the emotional regulator or something like that. You have that going. And like if Christian Harris is struggling, he would have to play to do that. But like if someone's struggling on defense, he can go up to him and tell him what the hell's up. Just can't really do that on offense. And quite frankly, I don't know that his head coach really has a grasp of offensive football as well, which is what we'll get into a little bit later on. But I think Azeez Al-Shaair is just an awesome leader. And I think he's had a hell of a season, even though the win-loss total. Texans only team in the last 20 years to allow 55 points or less through the first three and not have a dub. It's not because of him, because he's playing his ass off. Tate Rodriguez on Z Super Chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He says, is this offense so bland because CJ is not able to pick up the offense? Mills seemed to run the offense better than CJ during training camp. Yeah, I mean, we said a number of times that, you know, Mills looked really, really good. He had some really bad days, but he did look really, really good. Now, it is worth mentioning, they kind of ran a version of this offense close to New England-y when Mills was here. So his first year. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how easy or difficult this offense is. I know that this version of it, and it is the New England offense. Like Nick Caley can cut the shit and just admit that it's the New England offense, but I don't know how easy or difficult this is I do know that this is the New England offense. And in the past, that was looked at as something that was difficult to pick up for quarterbacks, skill guys, offensive linemen. I don't know if CJ Stroud's seeing the field well or not. Some of the interceptions that he's thrown leads you to believe not necessarily, but more control was something that they pressed and didn't necessarily play out that well. So let's get into DeMeco Ryans and this close thing. And I look at DeMeco Ryans and I hear some of the stuff he says. And sometimes I just can't, it's really hard to make sense of some of the things that the guy says, because it's almost like he's getting in his own way, and he either has like such little respect for the people asking the questions, or certain people asking like actual questions that he has to think about, or there's just really no method to the madness. And I don't blame him for not wanting to speak. I do find it crazy that he basically just told the fans, I don't give a rat's ass whether you like us or not. And I don't know that he has like the utmost respect for fans, media. I think it's players. Players are at the top of his depth chart. They're at the top of his depth chart, and he's a player's coach. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, who knows? But that's kind of what it is. But I did think it was weird. Well, if you want to watch us, okay. If not, okay. That's a weird thing to say. But the weirdest thing, and the thing that's gotten a lot of attention, has been the close thing. And there are some people who just take the quote about being close and they rant and they scream and all this type of stuff. But he did explain what he meant by it. It might not have been the greatest of explanations, but he did explain it. And let's listen to that explanation. And then let's kind of try to get a grasp. And there's another piece of sound that you may not have heard from DeMeco Ryans, but let's just try to dive into why are you the way you are, DeMeco? Cody asked him at first about being close. Here was DeMeco kind of clarifying what he means by being close.
DeMeco, when you say you're close, are you close to turning those close games into wins, or are you close to where you want?
Yeah, what I mean by close, we were close in our 3 games, right? We were there in the fourth quarter, right? We were close to finishing and closing those games out. But there are plays in each game that we've had these first 3 games that we didn't finish and win the game. So I'm not talking about close as a team, talking about winning the football game. That's what we're here to do. We're here to win football games. We've been in position to win those games, and we have not won the game. So we got to find a way to win the game. Right? We got to make the plays in the fourth quarter of the games we've been in. We got to make those plays to put us in position and to just ultimately to win the football game. That's what we're here to do, right? That's what we work tirelessly and hard for, is to win football games. So the games have been close. We've been right there in the games, right? So we just got to find a way to get it done.
Okay. So the games have been close. We got to find a way to get it done. Here's my problem with that. And you're about to hear me ask him this question and kind of a follow-up on that. You've said to us a number of times, Coach, you've said, rightfully so, and I agree with you, it's a fact, that you've said that all NFL games are close. All NFL games come down to, this many plays and yada, 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 yada. So you've said that. So is that like something that is supposed to make people feel better? Here's his explanation on that.
We talk about most games, and I think we even talked about it with you last week. Most games in the NFL are close, and it comes down to a couple of plays. So Is being close encouraging, or is that just kind of a league-wide thing? Like,
It's not encouraging to being close. We want to win games. It's not about being close. That's just stating the facts or stating the obvious of how the 3 games have played out, how those games have happened for us. But we're not here to just be close. We're here to win the football game.
Okay, so it's stating the obvious. Why? And what is the reason that the obvious needs to be stated? Is it like, do you need to make someone feel better? Does it make you feel better? If it's a league-wide thing, then what is the purpose of stating the obvious? I don't get it. I'm confused by it. But I do think that perhaps there's some theories. I don't understand. Like, his nickname's Cap. We'll call him Cap Obvious from now on, since the obvious is being stated, and I'm just stating the fact. Okay, I don't think they're close. Like, even in like the actual games, I don't think these games are close. If you've been to the red zone 4 times in 3 games, then being within 1 possession more than a field goal is not close. So I'm confused as to why he has to state the obvious. It doesn't make any sense. And it's weird because it's almost like you just say one thing and then you expect something else to be said. It's like last year where he got mad at me because, he goes on Texans radio and he says, well, this game hurt a little bit more. Normally I just move on Monday, but this game hurt a little bit more. And, I'm going to let that, one soak in a little bit longer. And then I just ask him, I say, hey, so is this a bigger game because of that? And he's like, no, every game's the same. Well, you said that one hurt a little bit more. So I just think, I think when it comes to anyone that's not a player, I don't know that DeMeco Ryans has a method to his madness. And I also don't know that DeMeco Ryans really, I think he's going to go the extra mile to defend players, even if it doesn't, there's no payoff and it could backfire. It goes back to the keeping it real goes wrong with injuries. The whole rant, the weird ass rant that he had about injuries where he was comparing media types, doctors' records to like the Joe Mixon thing. I think there's an overly aggressive attempt to protect players. Because he was one or whatever, but the stating the obvious, I don't really understand. Let's go to the chat, see what some of you people, I do mean you people, have to say.
You ain't never had.
Swarm.
All right, Tyler Olson says a coach getting upset at having to answer hard questions sounds like a certain teapot. Bill O'Brien comparison for DeMeco Ryans. Andrew D says, real question here. All questions are real. Is CJ broken already? The point of no return. I don't know. Something's wrong. He doesn't seem happy. I think this offseason will be interesting if this continues. Gilbert Gonzalez says CJ needs to exercise his emotional vampire and lift up his team. Show that dog he had in him in the first year and a little bit last year. That would be nice. James Clancy says, serious question. Can they bring in a consultant for the offense? Why haven't they if they can? I think you're allowed to bring in a consultant. Who would you suggest? Like, you want to bring back Kubiak? Sound like John McClain. Gary Kubiak would be a great consultant. TXX says he can't help the offense, LOL. They can't even identify what the problem is so far. Remember, we're close. The close thing's getting DeMeco. And this is the other thing about DeMeco. Used to be if you criticize DeMeco or if you criticize CJ Stroud, and by I say you, I mean me, like even if it was just the most objective criticism with compliments buried in, it was like gang. I don't think DeMeco Ryans' popularity is that high right now because of stuff like this. Because he's kind of insulting fans' intelligence. I don't think his approval rating is very high. Go look at the comments on the Texans YouTube page on his latest interview. Like, people are sick of it. You don't like being gaslighted. And I think if DeMeco Ryans would just go up there, not overthink it, not think that anything he says is like going to be like the end of the world for his players, I think it might go a long way, and it might actually help the football team. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because like the guys at the top, like, he doesn't do it to his defense, but on his offense he does. So you got to wonder, like, when we start to talk about CJ Stroud and the mood and the perhaps validated feelings that he has, you just got to wonder if like that's the reason why he talks about it so different, where he says what they need to do, but then on offense it's just coddled. But there's something going on with that. Malik on the chat says, "Don't ask me how I know, but it will be 3-3 Ravens win." So you're saying the Texans are going to go 3-3? That would be pretty good. That would be pretty good. Andrew D says they don't have answers for anything. Cam says can't make up his mind. Cap Insano 713 says they're such an undisciplined team. Also, how can they say close when they're so undisciplined? They're an undisciplined team, like, for sure. Who's getting canned at the end of the year? I think it would be Nick Caley. I did not know. I found out yesterday that Nick Caserio actually got a under the radar 2-year extension with that promotion. Wasn't reported. It was kind of buried, but I talked to McLean because I assumed that the contract was normal. I thought that the ownership actually did something smart. But Cal and Hannah, apparently, they just felt the need to give Nick Caserio a 2-year extension. So he has 4 years left on his deal, which is just crazy. You get 2 years of them not even bothering you, being patient. You get to stockpile all the money and have the largest amount of cap space. You inherit a quarterback that is going to warrant overwhelming draft haul. You create one of the most ideal situations in all of football. And then you win one division the same year that the Colts are a drop pass away with Gardner Minshew, and the GM gets an extension. I mean, man, you wonder why Nick Caserio doesn't mind handing out unnecessary extensions. I mean, that starts at the top. That is asinine to me. And it got kind of buried, but that's insane to me. I'm not trying to turn this into a Nick Caserio thing, but why can't those contracts play out? Like, it's crazy. Like, and I'll go DeMeco. I'll go players POV. Like, these contracts are kind of fake. Like, these contracts here are pretty damn fake.
This is fake. This fake.
It's a fake.
Yeah, that's Photoshop. That's fake. On my mama, that's fake. On my heart, on my life,
Like,
my little brother grave. I
You
could
see
die right now.
guys
That's
getting
fake.
cut all the time. And Nick Caserio gets a contract, 5-year contract with 2 years without any expectations to basically just get through the mud, and inherits all he did. And by the way, that contract was negotiated by one of his buddies, the POS, Jack Easterby, with the agent that represents Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio. And you can't play that out because he had one good year and won a division? Bill O'Brien got fired the year after he won a division. I mean, that's crazy to me, the way that some of the owners just function. It's nuts. But to answer your question, I would say if someone gets canned, we'll be talking a third offensive coordinator in 4 years. It'll be Alex Smith, Trevor Lawrence, like, for CJ Stroud. And then who knows what that means when it comes to CJ Stroud. But the fact that Nick Caserio got that extension is just, it's asinine to me. Like, it makes zero sense for that to have been the case. But it did happen. And I guess it just kind of is what it is when it comes to the Casario contract. I am absolutely shocked by that. You know what else I'm shocked at? How great my yard looks because of Texans turf. Shout out to Texans turf. Shout out to Dan and his team. Best thing I've done in my yard. I go back there. Sometimes I go barefoot. You never know what I'm doing back there. I might just be hanging out with the dog, the baby. They're not getting mud. They're not getting bit by insects. We got everything going on out there. The fire pit. It's lovely. And it's just a nice small backyard, but it feels like a $1 million backyard because of what Texans turf did for me. And they've done it for people like me. They've done it for the big ballers. They'll look out for you. And I shopped around before I was a customer, and I'm a proud customer, and I will never not have turf in the backyard. You know what, though? I won't need it for a long, long time because it still looks like it did when I got it a few years ago. So shout out to Dan and his team. If you've thought about getting in the turf game, do so. You will not regret it. And if you do it, you might regret it if you don't use Texans turf, but if you do, you need to go to texansturf.com. Putting greens, play areas, all that. They got you covered, and they'll customize it to your backyard. The Casario thing it's weird to me that we just felt the need to see some sort of contract situation. So when it comes to players today, though, it is the locker room post-week recap. We're going with like some of the most accountable guys in that locker room. One of them is Jake Andrews, who was already back. He spoke about the mindset of the team, the close talk, all that type of crap. We heard from Aziz. Let's hear from someone on the other side of the rock that most people are mad at. And let's be honest, the position group that most are mad at. But Jake Andrews, let's hear what he has to say about it. Maybe he'll make you feel a little bit better. Maybe not.
The overall feel in the locker room, obviously not the start that you guys wanted, but what's the overall vibe and the message?
We're 0-3. We're not, 4-13 or whatever. It's a long season. It's the same cliches, but we have a lot of games left, a lot of opportunities left, and we're just going to try to take advantage of them. We played 3 pretty good teams, 2 that you could say are, very good teams, and we've been in it every game, and we've had a chance to win. We just got to capitalize. It's the difference of 1 or 2 plays here, a couple of turn. It's just we're really close. We're really close. So,
how are you personally feeling returning to the field?
I feel great. Yeah, I'm excited to be back out there. And like I said, we have a lot more opportunities, and I'm excited to continue that.
Close has been kind of the word. What do you like? In what areas do you need to improve on specifically to not be close and start winning?
I think everything, operation execution, we can't turn the ball over. Like I said, we're a couple plays away here and there, offensively, defensively, in the kicking game too. We've all had some good, we've all had some bad. We just all got to take pride in it and try to get the corrections made and, just continue to improve at every game.
Is it one of those things where you look at it, you're like, not just close from winning, but like a few plays away from like really hitting the stride of what you guys want as an offense?
We get backed up with a penalty,
that means
like
no.
every other drive. Then we have turnovers, whether it's a fumble or something, it's all stuff that we can control, and I think getting rid of those negatives, you can't function as an offense when you're going backwards, and we've got to fix that. Because when we go forward and we have good drives, they're pretty good drives. We got to get in the end zone more. We got to get points on the board. Obviously, more. That's the only way you win games is when you score points. So putting it all together, hopefully, we get a shot again this week in the division, and we make the best of it.
All right, there you go. Hopefully, we get a shot and we make the best of it. But he's not BSing because, as soon as you said as soon as Cody asked him about the offense fully gelling and fully functioning, he kind of, I don't know about that. Appreciate the honesty. Appreciate the honesty by him. And that's just really where it is. But my question is, what is the ultimate goal for DeMeco Ryans? And this is where you kind of put your seatbelt on. We've gone through all the podium stuff, but this is where you kind of put your seatbelt on and you kind of just, we need to take a deeper dive into DeMeco, and we need to take a bigger dive into what exactly DeMeco wants to do? Like, what is the goal for DeMeco Ryans when it comes to coaching this team and his mindset and his outlook? Because I don't want to sit here and say that DeMeco Ryans is 100% satisfied with the way things are. I think he does deserve credit for firing Bobby Slowick proactively. I just don't know if it's I don't know if the messaging is and the process is appropriate for overcoming a problem that might have something to do with his mindset. And I asked him about this, about the offensive struggles, which I don't know about y'all. I've watched every snap of Texans football for a long, long time. And I feel like I've been watching this type of an offense for damn near a year under DeMeco Ryans. The OC has gone from
Damn it, Bobby.
to
Nick.
the linemen have changed. They got a new offensive line coach. It kind of looks the same to me. And I asked DeMeco Ryans about that. And here's what he had to say about the similar problems. And this, I don't know if this is keeping it real goes wrong or if this is just honesty and kind of a trip into the mindset that might be problematic for the Texans if they want to ever have a good offense under a defensive-minded coach like DeMeco Ryans.
Do you feel confident that last year we kind of had similar struggles, or you guys had similar struggles on offense? Do you feel confident now dealing with it that you're in better position to oversee it than you were last year?
For me, right now with our team, like when you go through each team, like no matter what year it is, like each team has it's faced with its own adversity and different issues that arise. So for me as the head coach, it's a matter of, hey, different set of problems, different set of challenges, and I'm up for it. Like that's why I'm here. Like that's how we'll attack it. We'll get it all corrected, and we'll get this thing going in the right direction. I don't compare year to year for me. I said this is a different year. 2023, completely different team. 2024, completely different team. We're here. We have different issues here in 2025, but we attack it the right way. We attack it with the right attitude, and we're gonna get the thing rolling in the right direction.
Okay, that sounds great, man. But how can you not combine what you saw last year with this? Like, how is the slate wiped completely clean? Whether that means looking at yourself, whether that means looking at your staff, whether that means looking at your quarterback. Like these coaches have like a real strong satisfaction with their processes. It doesn't feel like the processes really get evaluated. And I'm not sitting here saying you don't need to believe in your process, but the biggest hesitations that people had with hiring a defensive coach was, well, man, he might not be able to oversee the offense. He might have a blind spot. And we've seen it with offensive coaches too in the NFL. So it's not just a unique thing with DeMeco Ryans. But I don't see, like, between me asking Nick Caserio, like, have you evaluated the way that you evaluate offensive linemen, and him being pretty dismissive of that, and DeMeco Ryans saying last year has nothing to do with this year? I don't really understand it. I don't really understand it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I do give them credit, though, for at the very least rotating Laken Tomlinson with Juice Scruggs. I give him credit for that. Here's him laying out that explanation.
We rotated the guards in the game on Sunday because we felt like that's what we wanted to do, to give Juice a chance to get in there, and Juice did a really nice job with some of the reps that he was given.
Okay. Juice Scruggs, according to PFF, had the best pass blocking of all the O linemen. By the way, the same Juice Scruggs that they so desperately did not want to put in a game 2 weeks ago. So as a result, they did a extreme shuffle of the offensive line. 2 weeks later, he's ready to rotate at guard. Now, does Juice Scruggs looking good? Does that have more to do with how Laken Tomlinson has looked? Perhaps. But it's just kind of crazy to rotate guards. I've seen it in college. I've seen a little bit in the NFL. But now we're rotating guards so he can get a turn. It's weird what's going on with this O-line. Now, I will say it's better and it's an improvement from last year where Shaq Mason and Kenyon Green had guaranteed starting spots no matter what, and it took injuries for them to be replaced. And then even after that, Shaq Mason was handed his job back. So maybe it's progress. Maybe it's just baby steps when it comes to how to figure out the offensive line. But I just don't know how you separate last year from this year with what we've seen. And I dug this up. I saw this. And I've seen people in the chat kind of bringing this up. So DeMeco Ryans was on Texans radio with Mark and John. And he was asked about how he approaches things and how he approached things heading into Jacksonville. And this might make a lot of people upset. I'm warning you, but just ride with me here. But this is DeMeco Ryans talking about what his message was after the Texans wet the bed against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Here's DeMeco Ryans talking about what his message was to his team before the Jags game. And this is on the Texans YouTube, and you also heard it on Sports Radio 610. Here's DeMeco Ryans talking about what his messaging was before the Tampa game.
And guys start to lose, you kind of lose that faith, to lose that confidence in not only yourself as a player, but your teammate. You start to look around like, hey, are we really that good? But from my standpoint, and it's kind of what I showed the guys Saturday night, I showed them all the positive plays that happen in our game versus Tampa Bay. And I'll continue to show our guys the positives, and I also show the guys, hey, these are the handful of plays right here. Like, we didn't execute the right way. Right. We didn't do things how we said we were going to do it. And what was the result of the game? So it's always leaning into the positives. When you lose, everybody's feeling down. You're feeling bad. But just because you lost doesn't mean every play was a negative. Right. There were a lot of great things that happened in the game. How can we continue to get more of those great things to happen for us? Right, so we can be on the winning side. But I know players can be disappointed in performance, coaches, and man, it hurts as a coach to be, in a position where you feel like, man, I let them down. Like, you start to analyze and think about it. Like, what can we do better? What can we do different to help the players be in a better spot?
Yep. Well, that plays into. You always told us on Fridays you like practicing in the stadium if possible.
So. Is that Pee Wee? Is it Pee Wee football? Like, I am incredibly fascinated by that. That a head coach of an NFL football team who coached with Kyle Shanahan, he coached with Robert Saleh, he played for Gary Kubiak, he played for Chip Kelly, he played for Andy Reid. That he feels that the day before a game, after losing 2 games, he feels he has to put up the positive plays so that the players see what's going positive. And then maybe I'll sprinkle in some negatives. That's one of the damnedest things I've heard. And maybe it makes sense. Like, maybe the goal is to just be the ultimate players coach, make the players comfortable, and always go to bat for the players, whether or not it's in the best interest or not. But my thing is this, though, when DeMeco says that, this is the problem I have with it. They draft guys that they like a lot from programs that they like a lot that get chewed the fuck out on a regular basis. They love Alabama guys. All of their Alabama guys played for Nick Saban. Do you think Nick Saban is just showing positive plays to his players after games, leading into like must-win games to keep morale high? Like, you think Will Anderson got like if when Alabama would lose a game, or hell, even when Alabama would win a game close, you think Nick Saban feels like leading up to it, he has to focus on the positive plays and put together a positive highlight tape? Nico Collins played for Jim Harbaugh. You think Jim Harbaugh needed to put up the positive plays for Nico when he was there? Kamari last year played for Kirby Smart. You think he needed that? That is one of the wilder things that I've witnessed in a long time. It's a wild thing that I don't understand why that's a thing and why that needs to be necessary. Because you have a number of guys on your team that don't come from that. And obviously the message didn't work. So at what point do you start to kind of question the process? Some people just are built the way they're built, and it's not in their nature. That's fine. My question is, are you going to take the next step? I'm not sitting here saying you got to be psychotic Bill O'Brien. Obviously, that doesn't work. But are you going to take the next step? The word coddling comes up a lot. But are you going to take the next step? Or do you even care about taking the next step? Do you just want to make sure that the players are having a good time and comfortable? CJ Stroud doesn't look like he's comfortable. He's the most important guy. I'm just really shocked by it. I mean, you saw DeMeco go up last year, and Shaq Mason was playing good, and Kenyon Green was playing good. I don't understand. I have a hard time understanding that. And I don't know how you have to be. I don't know that there's any right way to be. But I've never been someone who says DeMeco Ryans needs to go up there and flip the table, the podium, or anything like that. And I've never been anyone who thinks that DeMeco Ryans needs to show some sort of emotion that maybe is not natural emotion. I don't think he needs to force it. That's where people really stop taking you serious. And perhaps even the people that you value the most, which are the players. But I started this off by asking the question, why? Why does DeMeco Ryans feel the need to state the obvious? If all NFL games are close, why do you have to go out there and say that we're close? Because he wants his players to feel okay about things. He just said it. I'm not making stuff up. You saw it on the Texans radio. Go back and check it out. Watch it. Read the comments though. Read the comments of what people are saying. This is the diehard Texans. This isn't the people that just want to every once in a while come in here and shit on me and Cody, which is great. Because if you want to take your frustration out on us, that's great. We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. But let's just pull this up one more time. And Then let's look at the comments together when it comes to DeMeco. So that's why he says they're close. And that's why sometimes it feels like he's talking out of both ends, because he's going to do whatever it takes to make the players comfortable. Even if these players, like Kamari Lassiter, would take a bullet for Kirby Smart. You know how many times Kirby Smart has probably cussed out Kamari Lassiter? You ever heard Will Anderson talk about Nick Saban, or Christian Harris talk about Nick Saban, or Henry To'oTo'o talk about Nick Saban? You know how many times he's probably cussed them out? It's just a style thing, but just listen to this. This is like all of you people, and I do mean you people that were like stressed out and like hoping that they were going to beat the Jags. This was what they were doing while you were probably counting down the hours before you went to bed. This is what they were doing on Saturday night. You were sitting there saying, "Oh, 12 o'clock, man, we got to get a win. We got to get a win." This is what they were doing.
Huge for not only Tay, but for all of our guys. Like, it can be
as a coach, what's kind of your responsibility in making sure that, hey, we love you, we care about you, it happened, we got to move on, we got to learn from it, we got to move on. How do you make sure he doesn't lose his confidence with what he's already shown being here already this year?
Yeah, that's really huge for not only Tay, but for all of our guys. Like, it can be a point where, you know, you haven't won a game and guys start to lose, you know, you kind of lose that faith or lose that confidence in not only yourself as a player, but your teammate. You start to look around like, hey, are we really that good? But from my standpoint, and it's kind of what I showed the guys Saturday night, I showed them all the positive plays that happen in our game versus Tampa Bay. And I'll continue to show our guys the positives. And I also show the guys, hey, these are the handful of plays, right?
These are the handful of bad plays. Here's the positives. And then you just read what's being said. DeMeco, we need you to fire up the squad. He's all giggly, saying we're doing great. No changes, no anger, no fire, no wins. It's been tough, but I love my team. I'll still watch. I hear more and more positive DeMeco, but I don't remember the last time I saw a fiery DeMeco. We heard these excuses last year. You see how he talks about the defense, not the same energy on the offense. I wonder what film they watch, because he says all the time, and there's nothing new. Like, it's not, the honeymoon phase is kind of over. But I do think we at least kind of solved the mystery as to why there's kind of a contradictory nature of we're close. He thinks it makes the players feel better. We'll see what happens, man. I think he deserves to see this through. 100%. I think he's going to see it through, and I think his shelf life is larger than everyone else. I was a DeMeco guy from the jump. We'll see what happens, but I just don't know what I don't know how this works. I don't know how some of these guys take it. Let's go to the super chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Darius says, whose turn will it be to hand the game to the Titans in the last minute this Sunday? By the way, DeMeco No-O takes on offense our super pathetic SMH. Yeah, if you say it's anywhere between Darrigan Wally and Nico Collins, like if you're talking about the fumbles, I don't know. It would be tough to give this away. I would expect him to be able to feast on Cam Ward, but I don't know. Milio says group hugs after practice tomorrow. Cap Insano says, man, it makes sense why now they're soft mentality-wise and undisciplined. It's embarrassing. I mean, when you start talking about an undisciplined team and then you start saying, well, they were watching a highlight package of their great plays from their 2 losses, it might make sense. It might make sense. Bakari says, I believe it's more of an internal problem as far as CJ grasping the offense and knowing how to read defenses. This offense isn't easy to learn, man. Like, now that we know what this offense is, and it is the Patriots offense, no bullshit. Like, None of that like hybrid crap that Caley was talking. It's a hard offense to learn, man. Like it's hard. Very hard. And the more you learn, sometimes you overthink. We saw it with Deshaun. So if CJ's having a hard time grasping the offense, I'm not saying whether that is or isn't true. Hard ass offense to learn. Hard ass offense to learn. Was the biggest knock on it. I mean, as soon as that offense was out the door, we had all our criticisms of it, and we were really fed up with it for a long time. It's not easy to learn. So if he's not picking it up, he's not the only one. We know what that is. What do the Texans have going for them? I think they have a couple things going for them. They have a good defense. They appear to be playing Woody Marks, which is a good thing. They've split those carries up a little bit. By the way, do people still think? I mean, the Nick Chubb thing has kind of like a limited type of vibe, and they have the Titans coming to town. Those are the things the Texans have going for them right now. And they also have me and Stoots covering the squad. We're all in this together. Y'all better be at Spanky's on Friday. 3:00, baby. 3:00. Sharpstown location. We'll see you there. We look forward to that. Let's get out of here. But first, let's talk about the Colts. The Colts, they improved to 3-0, and Shane Steichen passed DeMeco in regular season wins. He's a drop pass away from having as many division titles as DeMeco. And he has more regular season wins now with the quarterbacks that he's been dealt. Anthony Richardson, a.k.a. LaFar Jackson, Gardner Minshew, the ghost of Joe Flacco. Maybe sprinkle in some Sam Ehlinger. Don't remember if he got a start there or not. Some more Anthony Richardson, and now Daniel Jones. And he has as many regular season wins as DeMeco. He was the second choice for the Texans. I have that on good authority. He might be the best coach in the division. He's definitely hasn't had as good of a roster as DeMeco. And he definitely didn't have the assets that DeMeco had when he inherited. DeMeco inherited that number 2 overall pick and the 5 first-round picks in 3 years, salary cap space. Shane Steichen inherited a bleep show with Jim Irsay, a revolving door at quarterback, a disgruntled running back, and an offensive line that was getting older, and a defensive core that was getting older too. And he has as many regular season wins. Close works both ways. It has to work both ways. Like, you're being objective, like, yeah, you say it's close. They were close to winning a division. They've won as many games. Yeah, you won the playoff games. That's great, but it works both ways. They might have the best coach in the division in Shane Steichen. And I thought Steichen was a good coach before this year, kind of looking past the results, process over results. But I think Shane Steichen does a good job. He's got Daniel Jones 3-0. CJ Stroud's 0-3 here. And that's more of a coaching statement than a quarterback statement, because I can promise you that Shane Steichen would trade Daniel Jones and significant equity for CJ Stroud. Promise you that. That would be a no-brainer for him. So when we're talking about coaches, I think that matters. Super chat, Todd the Show.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Danny Dimes is Josh Allen, but was stuck with the Giants, and I'm a Giants fan. Well, if he's Josh Allen, then it's going to be a long problem for the Texans. I don't think that he is Josh Allen, but he sure as hell looks like it right now with old Shane Steichen. Danny Dimes just looks good. He just looks pretty good right now. I keep hearing about this 2018 rally cry with Bill O'Brien and the Texans, the 2018 Texans. And my whole thing is, that isn't that kind of sad? Like, don't you find that a little bit sad that the guy who everybody was so happy to see gone, and the season in which, by the way, they got completely bitch slapped in the playoffs by the Colts. But the season that basically propelled him to being football king is being used as a rally cry. It's kind of sad. We'll see what happens. It only takes one win to stock up some wins, and then who knows what happens, but they got to get the dub. Do you think they cover against the Titans? The spread is 7 right now. Book your bet. Book it in the comments. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. That is the post-week outlook. We'll be on to Tennessee tomorrow. These Reaction Mondays have been painful. They've been painful, but it's stuff that we got to do. I'm not going to DeMeco it. I'm not going to sit here and just focus on the good things and show you the good plays and talk about the good stuff. Quite frankly, that would be kind of difficult with what they've seen. We're going to break this thing down, and whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's September, January, February, whether it's here on SNL, Texas Collective, whatever, we're all in this together. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Subscribe, like, ride along. We're in this together. Whew, we made it through Reaction Monday. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try.